And greetings! Welcome everyone to the Apptrepreneur Show. I am your host, Kevin the Apptrepreneur. This is your near daily dose of app news, technology, and even a little bit of entertainment, and apparently a little bit of world drama as well. And greetings! Welcome everyone to the Apptrepreneur Show. Welcome as always. It is an honor and a privilege to be spending time with you. Near daily dose of app news, technology, and go off. Because that will be really annoying if we keep that up. So anyway, thank you to the people who are here. I see there's several people. Hey, if you want to start by giving the video a thumbs up, that would be great. Now, here's the thing. I did something a little different yesterday that I'm actually going to stick to, and I'm going to explain what the change is. It's very, very minor, but I think this was like a good idea. I am now going to tell you up front, what kind of stories we have lined up for the show. However, like in the past, I've been doing things where okay, first I'll talk about the gig economy, then I'll talk about technology, then I'll talk about some apps, and I'll talk about streaming wars. I always group the topics together. I'm not going to do that anymore. Yes, we will still have a variety of different topics. However, I am going to mix and blend them. So, for example, we have 2 gig stories today. 2. But they will not be side by side. You will have to watch the whole show to see both of them. Likewise, I have 2 topics on streaming, and those will not go side by side either. We will spread them out. And we have at least 1 e-commerce. We have an update on TikTok, sort of. And we even have a little bit of a politics video, to be perfectly frank. Maybe 2. I don't know if one of them is considered political anymore, but we will go forward. Actually, there might even be 3 political videos on this one, for all we know. But anyway, that's how we're going to do it from now on. And as always, you can leave your comments and stuff during the live stream. I might even try a little something new where it's I might go to the comments in between videos and make quick comments on comments you might have at the previous story. But the vast majority will still be saved for at the end. That said, we do have a lot to talk about today, so let's jump right into it with the main topic. Now, the main topic is one that actually people have been commenting on my channel for a while. Now, we all know that AB5 is very controversial in California. A lot of drivers love the idea of AB5. A lot of drivers, frankly, do not like the idea of AB5. There's certain Uber-tubers who are still in this business that do not like the idea of AB5, and once it's on the ballot, they are considering voting no against it. I won't say who it is. That's, their business if they want to do that or not. I will probably vote yes for the record. But a lot of people during all this discussions have asked me, Apptrepreneur, I want this in my state. How do I get it? And I give the same answer. You have to write to your congressman. You have to call them. You have to collect signatures. You have to do the work that makes it worth a politician's time to put it on the ballot or to do something about it. Evidently, though, it is starting to spread. And the second state who it might actually require Uber and Lyft drivers to be employees and not independent contractors, it's not New York. I thought it would be New York, to be honest. But no, it's looking like it might be Massachusetts, because they have officially sued the ride-hailing companies for misclassifying drivers as contractors. Here's what Wired has to say about this. On Tuesday, Massachusetts became the second state this year to sue ride-hail companies Uber and Lyft for treating their drivers as independent contractors rather than employees. Now, I'm going to stop right now and say I believe this sentence is written incorrectly. I believe it should read, they should be sued for acting like Uber and Lyft drivers are independent contractors while treating them like employees, because that's really the big problem that everyone has. Yes, you're an independent contractor name, but every single aspect of this business on what you do is determined by Uber and Lyft except for one thing. You can pretty much get on and off whenever you want. But as we discussed yesterday, some people deciding not to drive for the pandemic may have cost them their driving abilities on Lyft, so even that is in question. Otherwise, you don't control your pay. For the most part, you don't see where you're going. We're taking California out of the mix, of course. You know, there's just nothing about this where you're independent. And I know some people say, I want to be an independent contractor. Well, too bad. You're not an independent contractor. In fact, the more and this goes on and the longer we have to do this, the more it becomes painfully obvious we were probably never independent contractors. We just didn't complain about it because when we first started doing this, hey, we're making more than $2 a mile. That's really good. But we did not have we never had any control over our business. You know, we don't get the contact information of the people who we service. You know, we can be deactivated without due process. I mean, in what situation where you're an independent contractor do you get fired for your job? Now, some people might argue, well, that's Uber and Lyft saying they don't want to do business with you. Yeah, but you're not doing business with Uber and Lyft. In theory, you're doing business with your passengers. And Uber and Lyft are effectively removing you from contact with the passengers. So really, when you get down to it, we were never independent contractors. We've always been employees. So I'm sorry to go so long off that one sentence, but I do believe it's really, really misleading. Now, I don't know if you can see, my screen is going blank multiple times, so this is going to be very interesting to see what happens. I don't know why, but we'll continue. Anyway, State Attorney General Maura Healey told reporters the COVID-19 pandemic motivated her to ask a state court judge to enforce a 2004 labor law to reclassify drivers. Now, by the way, this is how you're supposed to do it. The funny thing about law writing, when they say we need to introduce a law that does this, or we need to make a bill that would make this a reality, is that there's usually a law that's already on the books that does that very thing, and all you have to do is enforce it. And by enforcing it, you don't have to waste people's time or the expenses with writing new laws. So the state attorney general is actually doing a very, very logical thing, like, hey, we have this law on the book. Uber and Lyft are not following it, they're violating it, so let's actually use this law to say, hey, you're doing this incorrectly, you got to do this instead. I mean, that's how we should have been doing that the whole time. We don't really need new laws, but I digress. Now, Healy says, what the COVID pandemic has shown is just how many folks are employed in the gig economy who, it turns out, lack very basic protections and benefits. Gig companies like Uber, Lyft, Instacart, and DoorDash say their workers are contractors, essentially each their own small business owner, and that the companies are simply intermediaries between the workers and riders or shoppers. As a result, the companies have generally not provided benefits like paid sick leave, time off, or overtime, and do not pay into unemployment insurance programs, of which they then turned around and want the government to actually cover the drivers. By the way, I stand by what I said before, like also, again, like, yeah, the company's intermediary. And yeah, I mean, in some sense, you can go to the customers, but you don't have access to who your riders were or your clientele and how many of them would actually do business with you outside of Uber. It creates a real problem. The lawsuit opens up another front in the labor fight for Uber and Lyft, which have battled workers over the classification for years. In May, the state of California and 3 of its biggest cities sued to classify Uber and Lyft drivers in that state's employees. The state legislature passed a law aimed at narrowing the definition of independent contractors last fall, and have so far been not been very effective at enforcing it, of course. Massachusetts law, which has been on the books for 16 years, created a 3-part test to determine whether a worker is an employee or a contractor. To be a contractor, a worker must do their work without the direction or control of the employer. That's probably a mixed bag on whether or not that's Uber and Lyft. Perform work that is outside the usual course of the employer's business. Interestingly, Uber might actually pass this test. Lyft, not so much. And perform work that they would do for other employees as well, which they do pass. Labor experts say it will be difficult for ride-hail drivers to pass that test, particularly the second part. Well, again, my opinion is that I think Uber might be able to pass this test because Uber now has food delivery, although they just recently shuttered a lot of their financing divisions. So who knows? Maybe they consider freight, ride share, and food delivery all to be kind of part of the same thing. I don't know. So maybe that wouldn't pass it. I don't know. In a statement, a spokesperson for Lyft said that more than 50,000 people drive for the company in Massachusetts, and that 89% of Lyft drivers drive for fewer than 20 hours per week. Those drivers choose to drive rideshare precisely because of the independence it gives them to make money in their spare time. Yeah, but here's the thing. The argument is getting more and more flimsy because it's like, yeah, again, they can go on and off whenever they want. That's not the issue. The issue comes with the whole, well, I think my time is worth this much. Can I charge this much? No, you can't. Well, but I'm an independent contractor. Well, yeah, but no, you can't control that. Okay, well, my time's valuable. Maybe I should see where they're going before I accept the ride. You can't see that. I can't? No, because that would be discrimination. That means you would cherry pick your rides. But as an independent contractor, aren't I allowed to do that? No, you're not allowed to do that. You see where it's going here. So I'm getting really tired of them throwing. This is their only argument. This is their only argument, and it's frankly getting a little old. Now, Uber says that they will contest the suit. And in fact, interestingly, in a separate article, which I'm not going to open because I forgot to open it, but Uber actually threw Lyft under the bus. They actually said, hey, don't compare us to Lyft. We do different things. Like, Lyft is the one that's unprepared for this bill, which that's going to be interesting to see what happens after that. Because Uber and Lyft have actually teamed up on this before, because it is in their best interest for this not to become a reality. But here's the thing. Right now, even though both companies are drowning, Lyft seems to be in a little bit worse of a position. Lyft could very realistically go out of business during this pandemic. They don't have a Lyft Eats or anything to fall back on. And Uber just bought Postmates. So Uber, being the backstabbers they are, probably see this as an opportunity. Like, hey, let's just finally kill Lyft. And they threw Lyft under the bus, even though Lyft had partnered with them in condemning this. So I thought that was very interesting. So Healy said Tuesday that by classifying workers as contractors, taxpayers and responsible employers pick up the tab when their workers need unemployment or workers' compensation. Gig workers are eligible for $600 a week in unemployment benefits under a federal coronavirus relief bill, but that provision expires at the end of the month. In fact, it ends in about a week. A bill to renew it has passed the House of Representatives, but is unlikely to become law. And yeah, that's really why a lot of these states and politicians are going after Uber and Lyft, because they're bailing out the Uber drivers that Uber and Lyft has not paid into the system to protect, but they came to the government asking for a bailout. That's what they were asking for, essentially, and they got it. Now then, this is actually kind of interesting. Like I said, I was expecting like New York or someone to be the next state to go, hey, wait a minute, this isn't right. But no, apparently it's Massachusetts that is doing this. And that's fascinating that Massachusetts actually got on top of that. So there you go. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because they always say that when California does something, everyone else tends to follow. And Massachusetts is the next one. I suspect Washington can't be too far behind. Seattle's already passed things that would let Uber and Lyft drivers unionize. So, I don't know. But this is going to be fascinating to watch, and it was very interesting to see Uber basically do fight or flight mode and just totally throw Lyft under the bus like this. Just totally do it. But anyway, I would like to know what you all think about this. Does this strike you as good news? Does this strike you as bad news? I would love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. And, oh, hey, we have a $2.99 super chat from Cinema Fan. Thank you so much, Cinema Fan. A drink to you. And we have Dustin is here. And Romeo's here. He says, man, now the stat is suing them. We know to have income from those taxes. Yeah, something like that. Cinema Fan, you did the Get Upside referral with Dustin? Aw, man. Actually, I'm kidding. It's just 15 cents, so I don't care that much. But I'm glad that you're going to be saving money on gas. So anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about main topic number 2. And, well, this one might be a spicy one. The next 2 topics might be a little bit spicy because we're going to get a little political, which I know is, unusual for this channel. But here's the thing. The 5G network is becoming a thing. That's the next big thing for phones is 5G networks. And you have companies from Samsung to Nokia to Apple all throwing their hat in the ring. One of these companies that really wanted to become big in the 5G space was Huawei. Now, Huawei is a Chinese-owned company. And here's the thing about Chinese-owned companies, and we've been discussing this TikTok, is that Chinese-owned companies, you can't think of them as American-run companies. With American-run companies, if the government wants data that those companies have collected, they have to get a warrant. They have to, request cooperation through local authorities. There's a process. So here's the thing. While using Facebook and Twitter does not mean your information will not land in the government's hands, they will go through the proper channels most of the time to obtain that. There are checks and balances to get that information. Well, with a Chinese-owned company, they're all beholden to the Chinese Communist Party. There's no due process. There's no warrant. If the Chinese Communist Party wants that information, they just take it. They just take it. And so as this becomes more and more common knowledge, America in particular has been very skittish about national security because here's the thing. America can spy on us because, we're Americans. But they don't want Russia or China or France to be spying on their citizens. That's not okay. And so America has banned Huawei and kicked them out of the country. And that was a huge blow to Huawei. And interestingly, the funniest thing about this was that when it happened, basically China decided to show that it was not, a national pride thing where the government could really wanted it in our, technology to steal information by having its citizens do actually protests and everything before stopping and realizing that the protests were kind of proving President Trump's point. Well, interestingly, Huawei is facing even more backlash because the UK has ruled that Huawei must be taken out of all their equipment by 2027, so 7 years. So, here's the article. UK mobile networks have been told they cannot buy any more 5G equipment from Huawei after the end of the year, and that they must remove the Chinese networking company's technology from their 5G networks by the end of 2027. The decision is a significant U-turn by the UK government, which only 6 months ago gave Huawei the green light to play a role in the country's 5G network. Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden said, following U.S. sanctions against Huawei and updated technical advance from our cyber experts, the government has decided it is necessary to ban Huawei from our 5G networks. He added, no new kit is to be added from January 20th, 21, and UK 5G networks will be Huawei free by the end of 2027. However, Dowden also revealed the decision will also have an impact on the rollout of 5G in the UK. This will delay our rollout of 5G. This means a cumulative delay to 5G rollout of 2 to 3 years and cost of up to £2 billion. This will have real consequences for the connections on which all our constituents rely. The government said the decision was taken today in a meeting of the National Security Council chaired by the Prime Minister in response to U.S. sanctions against the Chinese company imposed in May, which limited the company's access to products built on U.S. semiconductor technology. Now, following a review of these sanctions, the UK cybersecurity agency, the National Cybersecurity Centre, concluded that as a result, Huawei will need to do a major reconfiguration of its supply chain. And obviously, Huawei disagrees with it. Now, that's actually part one of this story. The second part of the story is that it got even more serious because the U.S. is actually going to hit Huawei employees with visa bans for rights abuse. Remember, we're talking about national security violations. We believe, or at least the government believes, that Huawei was spying on people through their technology. And, even basic hackers found some truth to that. That's why TikTok became a big thing. So there is good concern that, Huawei is doing this. And that's why they're hitting Huawei employees with visa bans. So here's the story for that one. The Trump administration said Wednesday it will impose travel bans on employees of the Chinese technology giant Huawei and other Chinese companies the U.S. determines are assisting authoritarian governments in cracking down on human rights, including in China's western Xinjiang province. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo also said the administration is finalizing plans to minimize data theft from the popular Chinese video streaming app TikTok, although he stopped short of saying it would be banned outright, although we do have a story about TikTok, which will be one of our later topics. Pompeo made the announcement a day after the British government said it would ban Huawei from its 5G networks over concerns that sensitive data could be compromised by the Chinese Communist Party. And so here's the thing. I agree with these bans. Now, you do know, as most people know, I do believe in due process. I totally believe in due process. I believe in innocence until proven guilty. I believe you should not have your livelihood destroyed until things are proven without a shadow of a doubt that you are guilty of what you are accused of. However, again, we have to look at Huawei as something different. It's not a U.S. company where there are checks and balances. These are Chinese-owned companies. And in China, you are beholden to the Chinese Communist Party. Now, they may make arguments that they've got servers in America, but it's really, if they own the servers in America too, it's no stretch to think that that information is still very easily accessible by the CCP. And we need to be careful about how these companies operate in here. And since there has been some credible evidence to show that they're not being completely honest about what's happening with the information that goes into these networks and services, I think, not doing business with them until that can be clarified is probably the smart move to make in this case. However, I would like to know what you think about this. Do you agree with the Trump administration, or do you not agree with the Trump administration? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Now let's see if we have any. So anyway, we still have some people here. No comments for the last topic, but hey, if you haven't given a thumbs up, please do. Remember, you can leave comments, and we'll be, discussing those comments in between these stories. So since there are really no comments for this one, let's move on to main topic number 3. This one also might be a little political, I'm sorry to say. But, we're going to talk about it because, we've been talking a lot about Splash Mountain recently. And even though this isn't necessarily just a Splash Mountain related issue, it's interesting because Disney, World has reopened. A lot of people say they shouldn't have reopened. I'm one of those people. But Disney World has reopened, and it's pretty clear that the Florida governor is not going to shut them down. And Disney is mandating that all guests wear masks, as well as all employees. And I agree with this policy, obviously. I'm definitely one of those people who will tell you straight to your face, wear your damn mask. It's not this complicated thing. I don't think everyone all of a sudden has like a breathing problem. It's like, just wear the mask and everyone will be fine. But I will give people this one, because this one I actually am a little conflicted about. Because when you go to Disneyland, one of the things you want to do is you want to ride a ride. And usually it's Splash Mountain, but sometimes it's, Screaming Over California or, one of these other rides that take your picture. and you want a family picture as a souvenir of your trip, and you'll usually buy like a nice little frame to put it in. And so what people are doing is, especially if they've been there enough times, they know when the picture is going to be taken. They know when the picture is going to be taken. So they've been taking off the masks for that moment to get their picture. Now, most people have actually been putting the masks back on. They just want a picture where their face isn't covered. And I completely understand that. I completely understand that because it seems kind of weird to be paying a lot of money for a photo that you can't even see your face. But Disney World is basically saying, no, that is not okay. If you remove your mask during the ride for the photo opportunity, you will not be getting your photo. So here's what People magazine says. No face covering, no ride photos. That's the rule at Disney World, which reopened on July 11th amid the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Along with numerous other new health and safety protocols, Disney is asking all guests aged 2 and older to wear a face mask at all times while inside their Florida parks, except for when drinking and eating or visiting one of the park's relaxation zones, which, by the way, on a side note, the relaxation zone is kind of an oxymoron. What that is that's an area where you can relax and take off your mask and kind of catch a breather. Where do you think the virus is going to be more likely to spread in the park? Just saying. Anyway, this includes while riding on any of the attractions. As a means of enforcing this rule, the company has decided that they will be refusing guests any on-ride photos. Think the picture snapped as you go over the falls of Splash Mountain, if they are captured without their masks. A representative for the park confirmed this news to CNN, adding that the rule is in line with the park's existing policy to deny guests their photos if they are doing something deemed unsafe on the attraction. Now, here's the thing. This is actually not completely a new policy. For those of you who might not be in the know, I'm going to share a little dirty little secret. So the show's about to get PG-13 rated for a moment as I share this story. But you want to know what Splash Mountain's nickname is with some people? Particularly cast members? It's Flash Mountain. And why is it nicknamed Flash Mountain? Because there are many instances a day where women, and sometimes guys, but primarily women, when they go over the Splash Mountain, because that's the easiest photo opportunity to spot, and they flash the camera. If you don't believe me, these photos are on the internet. And when that happens, you know, all the photos are looked at through a cast member before they go to the world. And if someone on your ride flashed the camera, that photo will simply not show up. And if you wanted to buy a photo, you're allowed to re-ride the ride again. And hopefully the next people will be a little bit more cooperative. So there is precedent that Disney will not hand you your photo if you are violating a rule. Now, this is where I start getting a little bit more mixed, because again, I want to stress, I understand why you would not want a photo of you wearing your mask. And what harm could it be if, hey, you know when the photo's coming, you just take the mask off, you just want to buy your picture, right? I totally understand that, especially if the ride is nothing but you and your family. Here's Disney's dilemma in all of this. It's one of those things where it's like if you give someone an inch, they will go a mile. They've made it very clear you are to wear your masks in the park. You are not to take them off except for eating, drinking, and this relaxation area, which I also think is a bad idea, but, you know, whatever. And if they start allowing photos out that shows people not following the rules, and these photos start making their way online, it says to a lot of people that they're not doing a very good job at enforcing the mask rule. And so then you might start seeing people show up, and they either won't be wearing the mask at all because they see that they aren't enforcing the mask rule in the photos, or they might go on the ride and say, but I can take my mask off on the ride, which they're not saying you can do that. So I do understand the dilemma on this one. I actually do not, in principle, have an issue with people who's like, hey, you know, if I want to wear my mask, I'm going to wear it during the rides, walking around. I'm just going to follow the rules. But you know what? We do want a souvenir photo and we're going to take it off just to get the photo. There are people who I think legitimately who would do that. But then you have those people who, will do it and flaunt it. They will take their picture, they'll say they're flaunting the rules, and heck, some people might even buy their photo early and then walk around the rest of the park going like, you're not enforcing the rules, I don't have to wear my mask. It's a very, very, very tricky situation for Disney to be in. And so I understand the frustration. My recommendation to people who want photos, I would reschedule your vacation to when the masks are not mandatory, because they won't be mandatory forever. And in fact, I don't even think that you should go to Disney World right now because you're paying full price for a third of the experience. It doesn't make any sense in my opinion. So that's my personal opinion on that, but I would like to know what your thoughts on that are. Do you think that Disney is overstepping their bounds a little bit? I mean, granted, it's their park, they can do whatever they want, but do you think that, this is, them taking it, them being a little too stringent, or do you think that maybe there's a compromise in here? I would love to know. Personally, my compromise, here's what I think my compromise would be. I'll just share it right now. Maybe Disney should arrange a special photo package for Splash Mountain where, hey, if you, promise, if you buy your photo up front, you buy it up front, you promise that you will be making a purchase of this photo, you can essentially have a appointment, if you will, where you will be given a, you'll be given like a ticket or something, and you can hand it to the cast member. They can mark it on their computers or something like that, and the photo will not show up with everyone else. But because you have bought that photo in advance, they are aware that you will be, not wearing your mask on the ride. But then who knows? Because once you start putting the photos online, and they say, "See, Disney's not really enforcing it that much," like it is a tricky situation. Because unfortunately, as we learned with the reopening, you give people an inch, and in this particular case, they won't only go a mile, they'll go 100 miles. So anyway, I would like to know what you think about this. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Let's see here. So, Cinema fan said, theme parks during pandemic, huh? No wonder Florida is doing terribly well. Georgia's about to do a heck of a lot worse. All right, folks, let me take a little sip, and then we will get on to the next topic. By the way, if you haven't given a thumbs up yet, please do. It'd be really appreciated. With that out of the way, let's talk about main topic number 5. And main topic number 5 kind of follows a topic we were discussing yesterday. And that yesterday was the launch of Peacock, NBC Universal streaming platform. And, I did like some first impressions. I did like a little mini review. If you want to watch those, they're on the Apptrepreneur Vlogs channel, separated so you don't have to dig through yesterday's podcast to get to them. But the question remains, how did they do, and was the world hungry for another streaming service? And we got some very interesting information, because Peacock's launch day rankings topped Quibi, which is not surprising. But it also topped HBO Max, which is surprising to me because I actually think HBO Max had a lot more going for it going in than Peacock did. I mean, not the least of which a better name. But Disney Plus still leads. And the funny thing is that Peacock's launch day was very impressive despite the fact that there was a glitch with the Android app, whereas Peacock was missing from the Google Play search results. So the fact that it did very well even without this, because not being in Google Play is a very, very big deal. So that shows that I guess people were hungry for another streaming service, especially one that technically is free to a certain extent. I'm sure that helped a lot. But it might have actually beat Disney if not for one thing. It wasn't on Fire TV or Roku. Neither was HBO Max for that matter. And that has begged the question, why aren't these services winding up on Roku and Fire TV? Clearly there was a common denominator there. Well, here's what it is. The dispute on why Peacock and HBO Max are not on Amazon Fire TV and they're not on Roku has to do with data and advertising. Now, here's how it works. the companies go on these platforms, and the platforms take a percentage of, the subscription and the data. So usually the subscription is like they take 20% of that. So, you pay $7 for Disney Plus a month. Well, Roku and Amazon Fire gets like $1.40 of that, something like that, But they also control a huge part of the advertising. They have access to the data, they collect that data, and they use it for their own advertising services. Because again, these companies, they're not making money selling you the top boxes. They're making money with the advertising, and particularly the data. I mean, it's been said multiple times, we've actually said it on this very show, data is the new gold. The more data you have, the more effectively you can sell your products, control your consumers, and all that jazz. Well, Peacock and HBO Max, according to this article from The Verge, really, really want to take some of that back. They want to have more control of their services, and apparently Amazon and Roku just aren't playing games. So, here they've listed like a couple of examples of which they didn't actually sort it. So here's the thing. In Roku's case, the holdup comes down to two revenue portals. The cut Roku takes from signups and something referred to as ad inventory. The first one is simple enough. Roku reportedly takes 20% of signup fees. Apple does a similar thing, taking 30% of signup fees and developers in the App Store. The second one, ad inventory, means that Roku takes a percentage of ads that comes through the app. On Roku's website, the company states that a channel controls 70% of its ad inventory, with Roku controlling 30%. For a more niche app, the ad inventory cut might be worth the payoff of being available on Roku and having access to nearly 40 million customers. That's not the case with major players like NBC Universal and Warner Media, though. NBC Universal's team doesn't want to give up such a substantial cut of ads, with negotiations centering on a number closer to 15%. NBC Universal is also hesitant about connecting Peacock with third-party ad tech software it can't control. For those of you who are not, NBC Universal built an entirely new form of advertising tech explicitly for Peacock. This helps the company track user data, sell more hyper-targeted ads, and increase overall revenue. Because keep in mind, Peacock is free. The vast majority of people will use the free option. A few might pay a little extra for the premium content, and then fewer still, although I guess I fall into that category, will pay an additional fee to not have the ads for the most part. For those people, this data tracker that they've developed isn't very useful. But since the vast majority will be doing the free option, it's very useful. Well, they want to control more of that, where they have to give up like a huge control of that to Roku. And in fact, Roku would be benefiting from most of the data collected, and that's what's holding them up on that end. And with Amazon Fire TV, it's a very, very similar thing. So, here's the thing. But there is an exception to this. Here's why they won't be part of the Amazon thing, because Warner Media and NBC Universal don't want to be part of the Amazon channel's ecosystem and giving up a cut of their subscription fees, but they do want to be on Fire TV devices. Now they're in the process of trying to create more favorable deals. One example of what it could look like is what Warner Media was able to do with Apple. Prior to HBO Max's launch, Warner Media and Apple struck a new deal that removed HBO from Apple TV channels and launched HBO Max as its own app. Compromises were made. Apple lost access to HBO in its channel section and some of that data, but it was able to offer HBO Max. Warner Media could offer HBO Max to Apple customers while maintaining control over the streaming experience and access to user data. Here's the thing that's going to be very interesting. Disney Plus is the only streamer so far that's been allowed to bypass Amazon's channels ecosystem and still stream on Amazon Fire TV devices. Right before Disney Plus launch in November, Disney and Amazon came to the kind of agreement that NBC Universal and Warner Media seemed to be looking for. Disney Plus could stream on all Amazon Fire TV devices, but retain the luxury of not being part of the channel's ecosystem. Disney would benefit from the additional signups and still ensure they had full control over the viewing experience and user data. Now, why did Disney get this pass? I think it's pretty obvious. It's because you don't mess with the mouse. Seriously, you don't. Disney just has the kind of properties that people will switch devices if Disney's not on it. I mean, think about it. Whenever Disney and Amazon get into like a little pissing contest about how much of a cut of the DVDs and Blu-rays Amazon is going to get, and Amazon takes them off the pre-order site, yes, that does hurt Disney to a certain extent, but there's so many more people who it's like, oh, I want Avengers Endgame, I can't get it on Amazon? All right, I'll buy it at Walmart, or Target, or Best Buy. Heck, I'll even go to Fry's if I have to. Disney has that kind of power, but what is on Peacock, I hate that name, or HBO Max that would convince people to basically give up on their Roku player and go to Apple or Chromecast or something like that? Not a whole lot, especially now that Game of Thrones is over. If Game of Thrones still had like another season coming out, that would probably be leverage enough that they would have given more HBO Max a pass. But it's over. And a lot of people didn't even like the ending for that matter. So basically, the reason Peacock and HBO Max are not on these services is money. These companies all want to control the data. In fact, here's the thing I'm going to dare say. If Peacock and HBO Max cannot maximize the data for advertisers on these apps, then I don't think these apps are considered a success. Again, they're not making money when they sell you a subscription for $10 a month and you can watch as many things as you want. You think they're going to make money on you because you pay $10 a month to watch Scoob? I mean, here's the thing. I just watched on Peacock already I Am Big Bird and several episodes of The Twisted Tales of Felix the Cat in 21 grams. I'm actually keeping a spreadsheet, and at the end of the year, we're going to look at over how much money I've saved by having Peacock. But if I were to like rent this stuff, I would have had to have paid, NBC Universal $20 in digital rental fees. They're not making money off the subscription. Where they are making money is the advertising. And if they can't control the data, then these services don't have a whole lot of use for them. And that is what's going on right now. And likewise, if Amazon and Roku can't have that user data, then their services aren't making money either because they have the boxes, but they don't make money off the boxes. So it's a very unusual dance that they're doing right now, and it's just going to get more and more convoluted the more and more streaming becomes a thing. But anyway, I would like to ask, what do you think about this? Does this make sense to you? And would any of you who are Roku and Amazon Fire TV owners, would you get a new device just for Peacock and HBO Max, or maybe one or the other? I don't know. I'd love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. All right, so Deerhawk asks, what is Roku? It is a box. Welcome, Deerhawk. I don't know if I've ever seen you before. Disney should think about putting up shields. They actually have put up some shields. Ryan is here. Hello, Ryan, and hey, RBX. Texas Mate said, y'all keep defending rideshare companies when they screwed you and ostracized you and told you were getting screwed. I'm not defending them, actually. Like, not that I'm aware of, but, And Gig Life said, gaming platform? I don't know what gaming platform means, to be honest. So, one second. Honestly, the coconut one is one of my least favorites, but you buy them at Costco, and before you know it, you've got a bunch of flavors. Okay, now then, it seems like I do have some gig workers in here, and I'm glad you're here right now. And if you're a gig worker, a freelance artist, or whatever, this topic might be very, very relevant to you, because I'm about to tell you how you may be able to get an additional $1,000 from coronavirus stimulus funds. Now, for the record, I have not tried this myself, so you try this at your own peril. But USA Today released this article, and I have no reason to distrust it. USA Today is a very reputable source. And the headline says, Uber drivers, artists, freelancers, here's how to get a $1,000 from coronavirus stimulus funds. And we're going to read this in more detail than most articles because obviously we need to do the step-by-step basis. So, Americans wait as legislators in Washington, D.C. continue to hammer out details of a potential second round of stimulus checks. In the meantime, independent contractors, freelancers, and gig workers whose businesses have been impacted by COVID-19 are eligible to receive a grant of $1,000 from the federal government. That money is thanks to the CARES Act passed on March 27th, 2020. The best part, you'll never need to repay the government. That's the good news for the 57 million Americans who work as riders, drivers for rideshare services, artists, photographers, house cleaners, and in other jobs that provide flexibility but little security. Here we provide answers to some commonly asked questions regarding the $1,000 grants associated with Economic Injury Disaster Loan, part of the Small Business Administration Support Package. First question, am I eligible? To qualify, you need to have been in business since at least January 31st, 2020. That's most of us. If that's you, you are eligible for a $1,000 grant. You fit into one of these, if you fit into one of these four categories. You are the sole proprietor of a business with or without additional employees. You are an independent contractor. You are a freelancer. You are a gig worker. So I think most people in this chat room fall into one of these categories. Now, how do I apply online? You can apply for a grant access through the Small Business Administration website. The process is fast and easy. In fact, just to make it even more easy, I will share that link right here in the chat room. And for anyone watching the replay of this, you can check it out below. So anyway, what information do I need to provide? The nice thing about the SBA's grant application is how little information you need to fill out. Here is what they ask for. A social security number. Gross revenues for the past 12 months. You may need to estimate this amount based on what you earned in 2019. Cost of goods sold. What they are looking for here is a sense of how much you spent over 12 months of doing business. For example, if you are a freelance painter, your expenses might include tarps, paint, paintbrushes, brush cleaners, business cards, etc. Do your best to estimate this amount. And if you're an Uber or Lyft driver, don't forget to look at how much gas you spent, or how much money you spent on gas. The date the business was first established. Again, if you do not have an exact date, get as close as possible. Remember, these grants are only available to those in business before January 31st, 2020. Your business phone number. If you do not have a separate phone number for your business venture, provide your cell number. Is there anything to look out for? We looked for questions that might be confusing or otherwise catch people off guard. Here are a few things to be on the lookout for and how to make sure to get it right. Business legal name and trade name. The first two questions ask for the name of your business. If there is no specific legal name, enter your name in both boxes. Organization type. Choose sole proprietorship, or independent contractor from the pull-down menu. Business activity. Some jobs do not fit neatly into a job category. For example, if you are a freelancing trapeze artist, entertainment services is the closest you will get to describing your business. Depending on your job, you may find a better description under detailed business activity. If not, that's fine. Just get as close as you can. Number of employees. If you work on your own, the number will be 1. In other words, do not forget to count yourself. Is your business owned by a business entity? At the very top of the second page of the application, and easy to miss, is a question asking you if another entity owns your business. The answer is no. And apparently, because I would argue that if you are an Uber and Lyft driver, then they do own your business because they make the rules. But, legally, I guess you're allowed to say no if you're a gig worker and you're applying for this. Ownership percentage. Type in 100 to indicate that the business belongs solely to you. Finally, there are 2 things to look for on the final page of the application. One question asks if anyone helped you fill out the form. If you filled it out yourself, skip this portion. Just below are the bolded words, I would like to be considered for an advance of up to $10,000. Check the box next to it. As an independent contractor, freelancer, gig worker, you are not eligible for a $10,000 grant, but checking the box indicates that you want the $1,000 for which you do qualify. How do I let the SBA know where to deposit funds? Oddly enough, we found this to be the trickiest portion of the application. You will need to provide some information about your bank account, generally found on the checks. The grant application asks you for your bank account number first, the series of numbers found at the bottom center I'd show you, but I don't want you to see my banking information. Next, they ask for the routing number. When will funds be deposited? The SBA says you will receive your grant within days of completing your application. That said, there is no real way of knowing how long it will take the SBA to process the scores of applications pouring into their system. Those who have already received grants report that deposits are made with no email notification beforehand. If you're waiting for yours, our best advice is to keep an eye on your bank account. Now, here's the important part. Are there any strings attached? Yes, but they are manageable as long as you're aware of them. The $1,000 grant is tucked into an offer for a $10,000 economic injury disaster loan. So when you fill out the application for the grant money, you are also applying for the $10,000 emergency loan, which, unlike the grant, must be repaid. The good news is you don't have to accept the loan when it is offered. As long as you do not sign the loan agreement, the loan offer expires after 60 days. The grant is yours to keep no matter what. But because you may be offered a loan along with the grant, a hard inquiry will be run to check your creditworthiness. According to the SBA website, applicants who are not approved for a loan may still receive a $1,000 grant, but it is important to remember that a hard credit inquiry can temporarily drop your credit score up to 10 points, although it is typically less. If you're in the process of taking out a mortgage loan or financing a vehicle, applying for new credit, even if you have no plans of accepting the loans, may not be a good idea. If recent history is any indicator, these funds will not last long. If you can use a grant to help you get through, now is the time to apply. So, and then the Motley Fool owns recommends MasterCard, Visa. And so here's the thing. Again, I have not tried this myself, although I am probably going to try to do this. I am going to try to do this, and I will tell you what my results were. But this might be a way for a lot of you to get an additional $1,000. And also, if you happen to get the loan and they give you the $10,000, you could also just repay it right away and just give it back. Like, it's like that's another way to do it. So, but this is a little risky, but it might be worth it for some of you out there. So I'd like to know how many of you are going to try to do this. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Now then, we got 27 people. Thank you for joining. Hey, if you haven't given a thumbs up, please do. Nathaniel says, "Hey Kevin, driving the car, so I can't talk." Okay, and Gig Life says, "Oh, that was a comment for Deerhawk." Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you. So anyway, let's. Cinema Fan says, "Do I consider myself a gig worker if I'm making money from my smartphone? I've been doing secret shopping with Mobies." Actually, yes. In fact, if you have like an eBay store or a blog or something like that, if you're doing YouTube, there's a lot of freelance independent jobs that would probably qualify for this loan. Hey Naz, how are you doing? And Tim says he's filling out the app now. So, all right, well, let us know. If I'm still here by the time you finish it, let me know how this works out. Again, I'm probably going to try to apply for this thing, and we'll see what happens, especially since my credit has been going up. Like, I'm probably one of the few people whose credit has gone up during this whole thing. So if it has to take a 10-point dip, it won't bother me too much. But that said, it's time for the final main topic. And the final main topic, the TikTok saga continues. We've talked about this a few times in the show. First was the discovery that TikTok, because it's a Chinese-owned app, was recording and copying data and sending it to a server that nobody knew where it was, and so your information on TikTok might not strictly be safe. Then Amazon told employees that if they were using their Amazon email on their phone, they would have to remove the TikTok app or lose access to their company email. Amazon quickly backtracked on that, but it kind of showed how serious things were going on. And then Donald Trump himself even said that he might consider banning TikTok. Now, granted, he said it was going to be his revenge for the pandemic. I disagree with that reasoning. I think if you are to ban the app, it should be because it's a national security threat, which, by all accounts, it looks very well like it might be. And, well, we have more information that the White House could take action on TikTok in weeks, not months. According to Digital Trends, The White House is reviewing the national security risks posed by Chinese apps such as TikTok, WeChat, and more, and could take action on them within weeks, said Chief of Staff Mark Meadows on Wednesday, July 15th. Quote, there are a number of administration officials who are looking at the national security risk as it relates to TikTok, WeChat, and other apps that have the potential for national security exposure, specifically as it relates to the gathering of information on American citizens by a foreign advisory. Meadows told reporters traveling from Atlanta to Washington on Air Force One, according to Reuters. I don't think there's any self-imposed deadline for action, but I think we are looking at weeks, not months. The comment comes about a week after Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, we're almost an hour into this, I always start falling apart near the end, claimed in an interview that the United States is looking at banning Chinese social media apps such as TikTok and urged citizens to uninstall the apps if they don't want their private information in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. And of course, TikTok denied all this. So we're getting close to a world without TikTok in it. And of course, that means TikTok stars have to start considering their next move. Now, of course, maybe I'm just starting to get old. Like when I think like when they, oh, it's a TikTok star, it's not kind of like this is a job, dancing to music and doing memes, but you know, apparently it is. And well, I never thought this would be a job, so figure that out. But according to NBC News, Ellie Zeller is already planning out what she will do if the United States bans TikTok. The 16-year-old has amassed more than 5 million followers on the platform in less than half a year, but that audience could disappear. She said, if TikTok is over, I want to transition into longer YouTube videos. I've always had an interest in making longer videos for YouTube, and one problem with TikTok is people don't get to see your full personality in a 15-second video. I actually agree with that. People really don't get to see your personality in a 15-second video. Ellie is one of a new crop of internet stars who have enjoyed a meteoric rise on TikTok, the short-form video app that has itself experienced a rush of success in the past year. But the app, owned by Chinese technology company ByteDance, is now the target of growing scrutiny from the U.S. government for its ties to the Chinese government. U.S. lawmakers have expressed concerns about user privacy on the app since as early as October. So, and of course, we went over that. And this has left people like Ellie looking for other options. If a ban of TikTok materializes, they're hoping a similar platform takes its place. And there's no shortage of options from tech companies are hoping to capture some or all of TikTok's success. In fact, it would actually be pretty interesting. I could see Snapchat, because they kind of already do like a very short form thing, doing something like TikTok and mimicking the TikTok format and becoming more relevant again. Or Facebook could create their own thing. There's a lot of people who would replace TikTok. Now, again, I will not be on TikTok because of all this. Also, I don't think I'm funny enough to do 15-second things. Really, commentary is what I do best. And reviews, which, by the way, YouTube and Patreon members, keep an eye out for a very special exclusive video soon. But anyway, I would like to know, are any of you on TikTok? Like, what are your options if TikTok gets banned? I'd love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, blame responsibly. Now, I had one more topic, but I think I'm going to save that one for tomorrow. So, let's look at some of the comments, of which there probably aren't many of because I've been reading them throughout the day. Thank you once again to Cinema Fan for the $3 super chat. I really appreciate that. Let's see here. Is the second stimulus check approved yet? No. No, I haven't. Have you ever heard of a market force? I've been making money by doing theater checks and watching movies, so far drive-ins due to pandemic. I don't think I've heard of market force. Have I heard of market force? I'm looking it up right now. Actually, maybe I have heard of market force. So yeah, maybe I will do market force because we actually go to the drive-in movies quite a bit now. Let's see here. Hey, Stevie Curbs, how you doing? Deerhawk says Disney should think about putting up some shields. Yeah, they do that for some of their rides. Like the Skipper Dan now has a plate shield. Roku is a streaming box device. It's similar to an Apple TV. Let's see here. Texas Maine said, independent contractor is your title for employer, Uber, and Lyft. Yes, it is. Ryan says, I use HBO Max through my PlayStation 4. I don't think that I would have bought a streaming device just for it, though, if it wasn't as I really do watch stuff on physical discs more than streaming. Okay. Let's see here. What? And do not text and drive. Ryan says, if The Simpsons Season 21 comes to DVD, would you buy it or no if you don't think the show is worth watching after Season 20? No, if Simpsons Season 21 comes out on DVD, I would buy it. I don't think it's going to, but if it did, yeah, I would totally buy it. Nathaniel says, never heard a TikTok to talk about it. Yeah, funny. Yeah, no, well, I don't think it's worth giving a whole lot of attention to until it became a national security threat. That's when I told my wife, get off that thing. So, CV Curve says, I was offered money, $25K from SBA, but just took the loan. I meant the grant. Oh, okay. So, yeah. So, all right, Stevie. So, it looks like you had some success with that. John Petrosek said, Peacock is available on Android TV. Yes, it is, although, as pointed out earlier, there was, at least on the first day, a glitch where it wasn't showing up in the search results. So, that was a little bit of a goof there. Let's see here. Stevie Curb said the loan has to be repaid and is very limited on what you can or cannot spend on it. No, I agree it should be. And here's the thing. If you're just trying to get the $1,000, don't apply for the loan, or, if you get the loan, just pay it right back immediately. Like, don't even spend money. I mean, who knows? Maybe I would spend just a little bit of money to upgrade my video equipment, but that would be it. Do you have any Patreon members, Kevin? Yes, I have a few dozen Patreon members. That's why I make Patreon and YouTube member exclusive videos. In fact, you can see Nathaniel and Ryan, they're YouTube members. Actually, I think Ryan is a YouTube member and a Patreon member, which he certainly does not need to do, but I appreciate it. He only has to do one, but, I'm saving my Patreon and YouTube money to upgrade the computer so that we can do better live streams. So anyway, all right, that seems to be the end of the comments. Thank you everyone for joining, for liking, for commenting, for the super chats, all that jazz. So I believe we'll have another episode tomorrow, and tomorrow all of these topics will be cut up and sent to my various channels: Apptrepreneur Vlogs, The Failed Journalist. I've also got a couple new videos up on the Autograph Hound in case anyone's interested in that. So anyway, yeah, so thank you all for joining me today. We'll see you tomorrow with the replays as well as a new live stream. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.